Hey Dre, how's it going? I do wish that this thing was still doing audio like it did the very first time I played around with it. Maybe if I do it this way? Hey, okay. Well, then we're just trusting my microphone to isolate sound. All right. I guess let's just get into it. Like I have a rank 4 Ant-Man, and that's just probably my best option. But I'll play around. I won't do it only with him. I've got Sam, I've got Joaquin, I've got Guardian, I've got Reed. We'll have some fun. Yeah. Tell me how much bleed there is, by the way, if you're hearing double. And I can turn things down. Not when I got hit. I could feel myself be a bit late. Oh, I don't know why I knocked him down there. That's fine. Okay. Audio is good? Good. Okay, well, we lost one of them, which is unfortunate for damage, but we're doing fine. Here, boy. Thank you. getting harder to control. I need him to throw it. Nice. That's gonna happen more. Ouch. Alright, I was late. Oh no, that was dumb. Forgot that my power drain was going, or was getting weaker. Did almost nothing there. Cool. That's fine. Nah, Surging Swarm works fine. The power drain obviously stops working. Yes, Blue Marble is February. Oh my god, stop with the oh no, Alfie. Like, I'm sorry. But, like, if y'all could please stop yourselves from leaping to conclusions. Like, no matter what I say, if you go, great, that's bad. You don't know yet. Try it yourself. If, no matter what I say, if you go, oh no, that's worrisome, stop it. Try it for yourself. Like, calmate. Hey, Cream Cheese, how's it going, man? I believe Pixie is March, yes. Leaping to conclusions. I'm just going to assume that's an ironic question and move on. I'm glad audio's working. Nice, TC. Congrats on the Morto dupe. Hey, work. What's okay. I have science and a mutating gem for those two. Honestly, with the amount of titans I have, don't need to worry about saving them. Yeah, maybe not. Nice work. I've got, I think, 4 in overflow at the moment. I don't know whether to call you Allie or Alien, but welcome. You know better, cream cheese. 9 is a lot. I recommend you pick a few. Welcome, cat. Hmm. Like I said, Cat, you can parry the special too and it's unblockable. It's just a little tricky. I did mess it up earlier. Bro, that's just rude. Yep, see, that's what happens when you're too early. Still too early. Unfortunate. Mostly. Oh, because he threw a special and I wasn't expecting. That's why he didn't have the thing up when I wasn't expecting. Not very nice, buddy. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Oh, dang it, I didn't quite have enough power. But if I had gone for a medium, I wouldn't have disabled. That's alright. Yeah, I felt that be early. That's okay. Funny thing is, you don't have to parry the special 2 with Future Ant-Man. You can just dex it. I'm trying to practice here. Oh man, do I hate it when they do that. Ugh. Stop asking, Alfie, thank you. You say special 1 rotation, and the problem with that is I don't know. I don't really have time to watch MCOC YouTube. So I don't know if you mean like a rotation that is characterized by the special 1 or literally just throwing special 1s, just more what I would call special 1 spam. I don't know. I'm not a future Ant-Man expert. I can try literally only special 1s. Where are you getting that the max is 18, Stalingrad? Yeah, that's my understanding, is that proficiency is average health bars. Why would we do that, Alfie? I think you're reading her abilities incorrectly. 1 second. Pulling up Okoye. Yeah, you are reading her abilities incorrectly. It says Okoye's modified debuff duration can be seen in brackets. What that is telling you is that the critical damage multiplier she has in her base kit is giving that much increase. If what it meant was the maximum debuff duration is shown in brackets, then it would say that. And I'm sorry, I know that sounds kind of glib, but it's important when reading info pages to not like add words in your memory, right? Nowhere does it say maximum. So the 18 in brackets is what you start with. It's telling you the 12 because that's the base duration, right? Which means that when she enters the fight, the base duration is 12 seconds, which is important because that means that something else that says 50% increased debuff duration only adds 6, not 9. But what you're getting right away with no other factors is 18. If you're getting close to 30, then that is because all of the extra things that you are adding, like the Karnak Relic and the crit damage stat focus, are actually helping. So yeah, you are adding another, what is that? Another 100% on there, right? Because her base increase is going to be 50%. And you've managed to squeeze another 100 on that. So another 12 seconds. Does that make sense? I haven't voted for Summoner's Choice yet. I don't 100% know who I'm voting for. You can get even higher than 30. Is that supposed to happen? It's not technically capped. It is like kind of soft capped by the diminishing return system, if I remember correctly. Because basically, like every 100 critical damage rating is going to be less effective at increasing the percent than the previous one. And so that's kind of what's keeping it in check, right? If you just add 1,000 critical damage rating over and over and over again, each one will give you a little bit less time than the previous one. But because of that, it is intentionally uncapped. Should we have maybe given it a maximum increase? Maybe, but yeah, that's how it works. I heard a bit of it, Hazama. I haven't sat down and listened through it, but my wife has already signed up for pre-sale, so yes, I am aware. Okay, let's try this just with special one, because honestly, that's not how I'm used to using him at all. It's incredible, just how much he is managing to wait and then light. Also, 1 second, because I can actually do this here. I'm going to turn down the volume a little bit on my end, because if y'all are saying the audio is good, then I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to turn this down. Also, everybody keeps saying the music is good, so maybe we'll try that just in the background. On my karaoke list, that's fun. I respect that. Bruno's stuff is good for karaoke, just not for me without messing with the pitch. And I don't mean it's too high, it's like simultaneously too high and too low, so it's not comfortable for me to drop it an octave the way that some are. My best karaoke songs tend to be... Whoops, that's fine, that worked out. Tend to be women. Because there are a bunch of artists like Demi Lovato or that kind of thing where their voice is basically exactly an octave above mine, and so that's the comfy spot. Hey, Snoops. That one was also too late. Notice the parry pop-up only, but the parry call-out only showed up once. Nope. Should have held just a second longer. That's my fault. We should probably be going for wake-ups. Okay, that was dumb for several reasons, but whatever. We got another power detonation out of it. Which we don't even need if we're spamming special 1, so why did I do that? Never mind. I guess practice for if I go back to special 2s. That was a double parry. Alright, now we have to parry. Yeah, the damage gets tough at the end here. That probably wasn't smart. There we go, thank you. Didn't mean to dash back there. Woo! Thank you, damage cap. That's the problem with trying to push late on your parry timing, is when you're too late. Okay. So that's the reason to use the special one. Slower but safer because he's a lot less likely to go unblockable. It's not that it's more damage. That does make sense. You were just purely looking for frequency of power. There we go. Did it when it mattered. Nope. Alright. Well. expecting us to survive that one. Nope, that's alright. I don't think I had another in me anyway. Cool, 13. Who said hitting like a girl? That's silly. It's incredibly silly in the game, but it's pretty silly in real life, too. I don't know if y'all saw... There's been videos going around World's Strongest Person competition. And what is it? They call it like Hercules pillars, where you hold two 550-pound pillars for as long as possible. And it's a team sport. But the highest score was an American woman. I understand it's an expression, but it's an expression that we can retire. It was Alfie. I wish I was surprised, buddy. Do better. Hey, Alejandro. Not many. I hadn't played any Coliseum at all until this morning. Magnus is correct that the block penetration from Pierce shouldn't really do any, or from Invade shouldn't really do anything on top of Pierce. We are still looking at it because we've seen different damage numbers, but like that is just true. Invade is maybe not the best place to look at that. Yeah, that's not how that works, Hasama. Which is, I don't want to talk about it too much because, like I said, we're looking at it. But more armor pen is not supposed to increase damage. Armor penetration is supposed to increase damage if there is armor to penetrate, right? Like if you are already cutting through, and I've talked about this in my Math of MCOC video, but this may be a surprise to some of y'all. When it comes to the damage calculation, armor and resistance are combined. So if somebody had like 20% armor, 20% physical resistance, that would be like 35% because of diminishing returns total damage reduction. 35% armor penetration would cut through all of that, including the physical resistance. It's why the penetration stats are good. But that doesn't mean after you cut through that 35% that it should still keep going up. Which is... Like we said, we're looking at it. Yes. Because, which is why armor penetrate, like it's phrased differently, right? We should be able to look at anybody. Yeah, I mean that should be phrased a little bit differently, but that is still clear enough, right? It doesn't say reduces an opponent's armor rating by that amount. It says ignores that amount of armor rating. Does that make sense? Whereas if you look at an armor break, it says reduces armor. And a reduction can go negative. Penetration can't. was the answer, or what was the question about? Where's my Thor relic? There it is. So your question was about the aptitude rune. Is there an aptitude rune? What exactly are you asking about? Oh, specifically the part that... Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't fully understand. Are you asking if it's worth... Okay, I think... Hold on, I think I understand. You're asking if the Thor relic is good on Hulkling because Hulkling already has aptitudes in his kit, which are increasing the potency of his Furies, so because that is additive with these, is it still worth it? The short answer is yes, because it still makes the Fury stronger. But you are right to ask that question, because it is additive, and it's not as powerful as it might be on somebody else whose kit doesn't have any aptitudes. The question you want to ask yourself is, like, is it the best relic? A Thor relic on Hulkling is beneficial, but like, so is a Gamora relic in long fights because it makes his Furies longer every time one procs. So are other relics that give him better, like, crit rating or crit damage rating, that kind of thing. Dark Phoenix. What am I using on Dark Phoenix right now? Probably a defensive relic. Yep. So this is the one I currently have on her for armor penetration, because she already rips through block, right? But that means that the thing that can mitigate her incoming block damage is armor or resistance. And like we just talked about, armor penetration is good at cutting through that on actual hit events. And then I've got energy resistance to make her more annoying for some mystics. Offensively... You definitely could use the Thor relic on Dark Phoenix, improving her Furies. That works on most people. The Miss Marvel relic for the precision. The precision's actually pretty good. You could definitely argue for that. I wouldn't use Venom. I think that's pretty fair. If you're really trying to look at offense, I guess kind of like we just said, she doesn't really have a lot of built-in crit rating. And so the armor pen on the Hulkling relic might be the best fit. Yeah, probably like specifically this one with crit rate secondary, or if your offensive stat focus for Dark Phoenix is crit rate, then this one with crit damage. Kind of whichever one you aren't using, if that makes sense. Okay, catching up on chat a bit. The best stat focus for Shocker. It's definitely not armor pen. That is, per the conversation we just had, armor penetration is the worst stat focus for Shocker. Because armor penetration is only going to matter if the opponent's armor is still positive, if they still have armor to penetrate. And the way Shocker works is that he reduces the opponent's armor by an amount equal to his crit rating. It's not armor pen, it's armor reduction. It's why Shocker is so dang annoying, because he actually is amplifying damage by bringing armor negative. That means that armor pen on Shocker doesn't do anything, because unless you are fighting somebody with absurdly high armor, like it has to be Doctor Doom Red Skull level, there's nothing left for armor pen to do on Shocker. So on Shocker, the best offensive stat rate is crit rate, because that crit rate is then immediately fed into his armor reduction on the opponent and actually amplifies damage. Correct, Sokka. I think I just answered that, Goodman, so maybe you're a little bit behind. Oh, so Sorry, Neos. So is Armor Pen bad on Solvark too? No, Armor Pen would be pretty good on Solvark. Okay, I guess we're doing a bit of this. That's okay. Y'all come to me with questions. And I haven't done a Relic video, so this is worth chatting about. So Solvark doesn't reduce the opponent's armor, right? Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, there's nothing in here actually cutting through the opponent's armor. But what Solvark does have is a reverb effect based on damage dealt, right? So that means that the hit damage of his hits, the damage of his hits, his hit damage, I'm sorry, I'm being redundant, that matters a lot. But he can't crit. And the way that a lot of champions cut through armor and physical resistance is by landing crits. Solvark doesn't have an answer to that. So that means that Armor Pen... Why do I have this here? That's the wrong stat focus. Yeah, as I'm saying this, Armor Penetration is very, very good on Solvark because it allows him to cut through the base 20% armor that most people have, and increase the hit damage that he does, which then also increases the reverb damage because it's based on how much damage the hits actually do. Do I have a relic that could go on him easily? Let's take a look. He doesn't care about crit damage. I guess I'm using all of my Starkies. We can just throw this on for now. It's something. But when I get another larger Starkey and or rank Solvark up, that's probably going to be an improvement. Crit chance is largely, yeah, placebo on Solvark. So Crossbones is not the same as Shocker in almost any way. But I would give Crossbones crit rate, yes. Because his crit rate increases his chance for Fearless. Yes, if you miss 1 or 2 days from daily, you can still get Toad. I am fully parroting Cat here because I am bad at keeping track of live ops announcements, but the number she gave me the other day was that there are 91 free ones and you need 80, which if you get everything else technically means you can miss 11 dailies. Ah, that honking. Yeah, it's totally fair, Neos. That is... That's pretty confusing. Alright. That was a good Future Ant-Man run. Let's play with somebody else. Jack is a little different because the crit rate directly feeds into his damage because the higher Jack's crit rate, the more of those instant plasmas incinerates he deals. You do want crit rate on Jack. Nico, it's arguable. I have Adrenaline on her because the fights where she's taking a lot of block damage, it does help. But you can justify most stat focuses on Nico, honestly. Hey Vader, how's it going? I agree, but you know, that's the kind of stuff I enjoy, even though I know it's not for everyone. that was some weird lag. Oh, oops. Need that. Thank you. You are playing along wonderfully. Woof. I actually think block proficiency is bad for Nico. The reason being that block proficiency reduces the damage that you take on blocks, which sounds obvious. Come on, thank you. That was almost very bad. And you don't want to reduce the damage that you take on blocks with Nico, because damage turns into adrenaline, and adrenaline turns into furies. She's a little dark side in that way. You want to be angry. Except it's backwards. Its pain leads to anger. Okay, that's enough for one day. Oops. Okay, come here, buddy. Let me parry you. Thank you. Bad. It's bad. Dang it. It happens. Harder to read chat when you're locked into a fight. Yes, it is. At least this one I can... Come here. Dang it. I forgot about purifying contact. Kevin! That's fine. What I was starting to say is at least this one I can pause during special threes. Crit chance is defensible on Nico. I use Adrenaline because more Adrenaline is more Furies. But, like you said, she does have decent attack rating, and so, like, yeah, bigger crits is fine. I just don't care about that because her targets, her best targets, generally don't care about you landing big crits, right? Serpent really eats into crits. Dark Phoenix caps them with Safeguard. It doesn't matter as much, right? Whereas more Furies from Adrenaline means bigger poisons and bigger bursts. But she already cooks those two pretty well. So again, this is all arguable. Like, the min-maxing is fun. I agree with Benito Holy there. The biggest thing I'd like to push back on with the community for StatCast and StatFocused is this community always wants there to be one right answer, right? They want clear tier lists. This character is this tier. This character is the best in their class. These three are the top 3 in their class. Who's the best rank up? It's not how this game works, no matter how many people insist that it is. It's not that objective. It depends on the other characters in your account. Even in Battlegrounds, even in one specific mode, it depends on the other character, or the other champions in your deck. Who you are comfortable taking with them, right? Who your defenders are. How much, like, how fast does Nico have to be against which characters because of which defenders you have and how much they can stall which opponents, right? Like, a lot of people don't talk about this nuance because it very quickly gets exhausting, and it is easier to just say, okay, well, you know what? This may not be truly the right answer, but it's close enough. I'm fine with that. You can absolutely accept the right answer is close enough. The thing that annoys me is when people take an answer that is close enough and then insist that it is actually just the answer. But I will get off my soapbox now. The armor penetration should not do anything to help with Nova Flames, no. Because it's not energy penetration. And armor penetration, armor in general, is only part of the damage calculation on hit events, which Nova Flames are not. I mean, Goodman, it's supposed to be a little bit like a new rarity. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Like, I'm going to be completely naked with that. Yes, there are some things about Ascension Plus that are similar to a new rarity. That is because otherwise, why wouldn't we just keep doing 7 stars? And the answer for that is because we're reaching the end of the road. Once we hit rank 6, Sig 200 7 stars, there's not really anything to chase anymore, right? And it's also difficult for us to do anything, not to like tell you this is exactly what the meta is, because I know people take that as really negative, but just to move the meta, to churn it, to keep the game fresh, because that's part of our job as designers, is making you think about slightly different champions quarter to quarter, right? It's difficult for us to do any of that if everybody's on the exact same footing. And so, like, some of the things that a 8-star release would do, like putting different champions on different footing and increasing the vertical chase available, we need Ascension Plus to do. That is explicitly the point. But it is also not just 8 stars, because it's not a hard reset, like everyone has said. You still have the champions, you still have the Sig Stones. You aren't starting from 0. We'll see. There's no best, also Shang-Chi is the best. You're allowed to have emotional bests. crit damage scales differently than everything else, so 70% is a little bit less nuts than it sounds. It also probably isn't 70% when it's applied to literally anyone. Energy penetration will increase dot damage if the opponent has positive energy resistance, yes. Yes, Yondu does work. Afternoon, Floyd. Alright, let's try this again. Whoop! Why did I do that? Mirror. Woo! 19 seconds! Oh, that's insane. An extremely old pistol. You're right, it is a very old gun that he loves using, isn't it? Helmut, shouldn't you buy a new gun? No. We need to use the Nazi gun, otherwise how will they know I'm a villain? I'm glad to hear that, Floyd. I have fun with it, too. Hey, That's bad. That's bad. That's really, really bad. Okay. Making me awfully mad. I hope somebody got that reference, but you're very much allowed not to. Joe's a lot of fun. Come here. You know what? Okay, and now we're gonna lose the ramp. You jerk! I thought those were parries. Okay, guess not. Alright. This ain't the run, y'all. No, not really, Magnus. And it's like we can directly read armor for damage reasons, right? Like, we could give someone energy resistance equal to their armor rating, right? And we could describe that to you as applying their armor 2 dots. We can base a dot on armor rating directly like Lady Deathstrike does. We can have a damaging effect scale with armor like Serpent Special 2 or Venom the Duck's Toxic Armor do. But by default, armor is just not part of the damage calculation on a fundamental level in the game, and so it's not really there, if that makes sense. And yeah, the various direct damaging effects are helpful in that way, in that they're not subject to resistance. Thanks, Hoken, I appreciate that. Oh, you jerk. Come here. Worst. No! This is purely my fault, too. Because I'm just missing the reparries, right? Like, he's being rude, but the reason that I'm in this predicament is entirely my own skill issue. Crit rate all the way, Nightmare. You want to know why we actually talked about that earlier the same stream? But I'll save the spiel for now. Oh yeah, that was greed. That was greed, 100%. I really, really hate that crumbling armor also messes with... or also prevents future armored effects. Okay, I can't parry today, apparently. Like, I'm continuing on for practice, but this run is also clearly busted. Alright, that's enough time. No! He was almost at the special too! He's being very rude. Nah, he definitely doesn't need that easy. I was just thinking, actually, if we wanted to give him an update, just allowing his Furies to stack. Yep, there it is. Probably making them a little bit longer. Now that long form matters more. Sorry to hear that, Mod. My Superior Iron Man isn't really ranked up, so I haven't played with him much. I haven't done the Guardian thing yet, but yeah. And we can try that next. Like, clearly I see the vision with Mr. Fantastic. It is just pretty RNG dependent. Trying to get an idea for just how high to go with the special 3. Because you don't want to go too far with it, right? Like, I understand people have done, you know, really impressive ramps, but it doesn't actually matter. If you're running into the damage overflow cap. So clearly more than 1, but I wanted to get an idea for how much 1 would do. Nope, I don't know why I threw a heavy there. Just habit of clearing the... Come on, buddy. Thank you. Oh, pain. Work. Yeah, his buff is pretty significant. Here, boy. Cool, that's fine as long as he throws. Thank you. This is gonna take a while. guess I probably should be... Well, no, not yet. I should only be throwing the heavy once I have enough force field charges that they're not permanent. Or once I have any that aren't permanent, I suppose, is the way. You jerk. Okay, so like now is a good time. Because that would have expired before I cash out anyway, so there's no point in holding on to it. And it lets us do a bit more damage in the integral. Looking down. Alright, come here. Oh, late. Block damage is gross. Oh god. That's actually a great way to die. Yep. Terrible time for him to passive up. "16 of which were in a single special too. That's just purely off of the shock. Like a bar a tick or something. That's insane. Yeah, but we can't update everybody's animation, Stalingrad. Long up in streaming? Okay, 122. That's fine. Alright, let's try and do the big dumb thing then. Just see how long we can ramp. And Havok's immediately like, oh. You want to push your luck, huh? What if I instantly threw a special one? okay, Cat. I will try Bird. It's on the list. Ugh. Play better, DLL. Yeah, the old school, like, rock-steady, simple animations are kind of nice on Sim. Like, yes, the art team could have done so much, but the art team does so much with so many characters that sometimes it's kind of nice to just have someone who's obviously from 2014, you know? Oh, you jerk. Oops, I used a permanent one. Oh, I thought, oh, because I used one HUD. Gotta call him something PG, cat. that was pretty good. Whoops, that was done. But I definitely see the vision on the big clears. We're just going to be here for a while. That's the funny thing. In terms of, like, bars per minute, Havok is, or Guardian is definitely not the most efficient option here. Especially if I keep doing stupid stuff like that. But even if I'm smarter... Ouch. Alright, throw. Thank you. I feel like I'm getting some lag in this fight just from all of the flashing lights. I actually tried to cancel out of that heavy, but I locked into it out of muscle memory too early. True strike, not true sense, but that is a good shout. The thing is, it would affect the hit damage of the special 2, but that's the part that's capped and can't take us past 1.6 bars. I mean, it's 1.6 bars per hit, so I do think it's still worth doing if I can line it up. I appreciate you asking. But it is not going to be most of the damage, and True Strike doesn't do anything at all for our shock, if that was your question. Nice, Warrior. Congrats on those ranks. Gross. Yeah, I think there's definitely, like, you have to cash out before a certain point, or you're just not going to be able to do everything you need to do to make the cash out right. But I kind of regret cashing out where we did. Thankfully, we're still in the 6-bar territory. Which means the prompts aren't too bad. Oof. Well, if I just mess up. So much for the auto block. The auto block didn't save me once, did it? 75% chance. Bite me. Okay. Yeah, that's probably it. Stalingrad on Dark Phoenix. The combination of the reduction and the energy resistance, because they'll be compounding. Hey, Jason, how's it going? Okay. I feel like I get the joke with Guardian. I don't really feel the need to bang my head against that wall. A little bit of bird. Crit chance for Absorbing Man. I'll explain why in a minute. Oh, that is a slow, heavy animation. That's going to cause some problems. Has his block animation always been that janky? The recoil on it is insane. Okay, apparently I just am bad at that parry right now. Should I be going Special 3 here at all, Cat? Woo! He was quick. Drip is like outfit. It's closely equivalent to swag from an older generation. Except specifically about like fashion choices. That is driving me insane. It's like his block react feels like the same as his just outright react. Did not remember his animations bothering me. If someone has dripped, their fashion is good. What am I doing wrong, Cat? I feel like this is okay, but not exceptional. Did screen mirroring just die? Why did I lose sound? Hey boy. No? Still seeing that. Sound just went out for some reason? Anyway. Might need to restart the air server in a minute. I'll try that. Oh! I thought I parried right before this. I must have had an armor break on me when I did. Yeah, it'd be a lot safer to use Sam's special 2 if he was able to consistently get the armor from the parry, huh? Yeah, it did feel like it was getting a bit worse, didn't it? I thought the lag was mostly on my side, though, but if you were also seeing it in the gameplay beyond, like, what I probably would have just noticed and commented on, then that's unfortunate. You jerk. Um, Sam Wilson reduces the offensive ability accuracy of his opponent while blocking when the bulwark is up, which, because the armor up buff on parry is technically Havok's ability, as it is attached to the defender, and is not protected from ability accuracy, means that when he parries, he doesn't get the armor up. Okay, 1 second. Huh. Took me a minute to even click on OBS. My CPU is a little annoyed. It's jumping all over the place, though. Should be okay. Alright, I'm gonna end task it anyway. Restart the mirroring. I did not make Zemo, no. I made Absorbing Man, who came out the same month. Alright, well, we got the music back. Now for my least favorite part of Air Server, the fact that I have to resize the window every time. Okay, that works. Adam and Axiom both helps and hurts. This one, it probably would have been okay. Except that if we had thrown Adam and Axiom on this, then Crumbling Armor is suddenly vulnerable as well, and so now Concussion turns that off. Or no. Crumbling Armor isn't hit by that anyway, so that's fine. What am I trying to say? Right now, Crumbling Armor, Buff Synthesis, and Cleaning Contact are all subject to ability accuracy, right? That's what I'm trying to say. And so if we had thrown Adam and Axiom on it, we would have protected Enhanced Parry Armor up, but we also would have protected everything else. And while that would have been good for a couple high-profile characters like Sam, it potentially would have hit other options. And that's kind of why, like, it's not a default call for us. If we feel like the most common strategies, the ones that we want to be best, are being messed with by ability accuracy reduction, or especially if it's like a science defender where people are just going to use skill attackers with defensive ability accuracy reduction, that's a common reason to throw Adam and Axiom. But our default is not to, unless we feel we need to in testing, because it's an all or nothing thing, right? It protects all the nodes or none of the nodes. Do I receive much hate because of my champion designs? Not so much in these circles, because if people are jerks, I can just remove them from my channel. I definitely get some, but, like, you know, what are you gonna do? There's a lot of less mature people in our community, and some of them don't know how to handle their negative feelings, and so, of course, I get some of that. Is what it is. It does look kind of laggy. It has to be the air server. Because YouTube is not complaining. There have been no warnings against stream health. The OBS shows a few dropped frames, but it's 0%, so very, very few. That's probably air server. Cool! So the thing that was successfully replacing the Elgato is no longer... I'm gonna scream. I don't know. You get a nicer Elgato, but this one was nice for a long time and is now being whiny, and the only one nicer than the one I have requires an M.2 slot. Which means I either have to give up on one of my hard drives or get a new motherboard, and getting a new motherboard means getting more RAM, or new RAM, which isn't really an option right now because people, I don't know, really love falling in love with chatbots at the moment, and I'm gonna stop ranting. Cool. Next BG season, you mean the invade meta? Korg can definitely be annoying. There are some answers. I wouldn't be too worried, because I think there are enough good answers for Korg that you can just deal with his rock stacks and then kill him through block. I've got the HD 60X Benito. Which was working perfectly for a couple years, a year, somewhere in there, and is now just not. I believe all of Jean's hits are energy, so that would be no. I can tell it's lagging because the audio isn't perfect. It's unfortunate. Man, I am not crushing the reparries today. Oh no. Okay, that's unfortunate. I was trying to get... It looks like because of the way buff synthesis works, it never counts as you having the precision in the first place. Which means Odin can't get the permanent intensify, which is pretty important to his damage. Oh yeah, the stream is just dying, isn't it? Okay. Cool, this is worse than it was with the Elgato. Yeah, I'm distracted. This is really depressing, y'all. I just want to stream. I enjoy streaming. No, a PC stream would not be easier because I hate playing on PC for extended durations. Um, I just I'm not gonna spend time on it, but mediums don't feel right, and I have given that feedback a dozen times, and have not made any progress with it. So I prefer just not to play on PC if I don't have to. Which is a real bummer because theoretically what PC's release should have done over anything else is make streaming easier because you shouldn't need capture cards, but because the PC client isn't bluntly good enough. Yeah. And I can't even like just push through it because the audio is skipping, and so like I need to turn off the audio. Um because otherwise it's messing with my reaction time. I'm gonna run a speed test on my network real quick to see if it might be that. Maybe a router reset. Oh, jeez. Okay, I think I need to go reset my router. That's hilarious. And then OBS disconnected because I have that little bandwidth. Okay, I think I'm back. It is my network right now. I normally get like 600 upload, 400 download, somewhere in that area. Just now when I ran that test, I was getting 25 download and it failed the upload part of the test. At least I know why. Okay, well that's actually kind of reassuring because that means that theoretically I go restart my router, I do something else, and I should be able to stream later. But it is annoying. For me at least, work, a touchpad wouldn't work unless it is literally my iPad. Um, because like I've tried stuff like that. I need to be looking at the game and touching the screen for the touch controls to still hook into my muscle memory. Without that, it just breaks. It's also not available on Mac. Yup. I mean, theoretically, I have a MacBook. I could plug my iPad into my Mac and stream from there. It's just that I don't know. It's my MacBook is aging. I may get desperate before too long, but I just have much better tools on my PC. One second. I'm following up on the Jean Grey question. Yeah, like Jean's info page says all of her attacks deal energy damage. Neos is saying that, at least based on his experience, and Conchuzonk is listing them as projectile and energy. It's also listing them as contact, which is weird and should change, but it is listing them as energy. So that sounds right. Yeah, sounds like all of Jean's special hits should be energy and Gambit should not do anything for them. Trying to think of an interesting one. I do think Korg is an interesting rank 4, to answer your question. He'll slow people down because they'll have to break his shield. And then hitting into block, you have to be careful because of the unstoppable. So I get why you ask. Like, he'll cause some complications. I just do also think there will be answers. Not a bad one. I mean, if you're on 55, you can probably afford it if you're wrong, right? No, I did not explain the Absorbing Man thing. Okay, so the argument for crit damage on Absorbing Man is that he benefits from it more than almost anyone else because his critical bursts benefit from 300% of his critical damage rating. So a small amount of critical damage means much larger bursts. That's true. The reason I say it should still be crit rate is that Absorbing Man has an incredibly low base crit rate, and while he boosts it with his heavy into specials, a lot of your damage still can come from your combos in a normal fight with him if they crit. And so increasing his baseline crit damage or crit rate gives you more crit bursts. And I think having more crit bursts is better than the larger crit bursts. But I admit I have not directly tested them side by side. I also think that there's enough of an argument for both of them that whatever you do with stat focus, you should try and do the other one for your relic if you're not using Iron Fist, right? Because Iron Fist is good for him. But you can also go for a relic that increases crit damage. Didn't know you could fail the internet speed test. Yeah, I've had it happen before when things are acting up. It just goes like, your connection is not stable, or like, you're not connected to the internet, even though you are. Because obviously you guys are hearing me, but it had some problems. Time to create a hard line. The problem is that I rent, Billy. And so my options for hardlining to my router are basically to run a 100-foot Ethernet cable from my office down the hall and around the corner to where the router is, and then trip over it constantly and maybe pull it out of the wall or something because I have big feet and it's just going to happen and I know that and I'm not going to pretend I can be careful enough around it. Or I can try and run it through the vents, but I worry a little bit about doing that in a way that both looks good and is renter friendly, you know? Yeah, if this was my house, I would have already done that. The base crit rate is not 17% Stalin, or Stalingrad. An unfortunate bit. Okay, cool. Yeah, Dilly. The economy's great. I'll just go grab a house. Silly me. Come on, man. Don't trigger me on purpose. Um, because if you look carefully at the roster page, I could reconnect the air server here, but I'm not sure it's going to be worth it. But if you look at the roster page where you go to attributes, there's a pop-up that says at the bottom, percentages displayed are based on a 4-star rank 5 challenge rating 100. A rank 4 7-star has a challenge rating of 230, which means that what you're seeing as 17% when it displays those percentages is more accurately like 10 or 12. I forget exactly where I tuned it. So it's very easy for you to be misreading that. Yeah, I think that's the one I have on him too, work. I'm trying to remember. Where is... Yeah, I've got a Doom on him. I think I have the wrong Doom on him? Oh yeah, that's weird. Okay, yeah. Um, yeah, it's very low. That was on purpose. Yeah, I may give up and do it anyway, Neos, but I've been trying to be nice to my landlord where I can. All right, I'm running another speed test real quick. Yeah, there it is. Jesus. I don't sometimes it's just temperamental. See, now I'm getting 450 download and the upload will run in a minute. Yep, and 260 upload. Okay, I could probably keep streaming based on that. Grr. Yeah, let me... I know people are going to be leaving this stream because there's nothing on the screen, but real quick, let me answer this question. And then I'll probably go do something that makes me feel better and then come back and stream later. But yes, even though Aunt May is way out of date, Stalingrad, there is a stat calculator there. And so, like, I'm gonna double check my absorbing man right here. His base crit rate is 295, right? And so if I go to Aunt May and I click on the three dots up at the top right next to login, and I click on stat calc, and then I plug in 230 to the challenge rating, and I plug in 295, it spits out exactly 10%, which makes sense because that's what I thought I remembered tuning it to. And then if we look at stat focus, that's another 140, right? So it's tuned around 5% or thereabouts. But if I... So there's a couple of ways to look at this. So the base is 295, but you also want to remember that most people are running at least 4 points in precision and probably 5, which means that it's actually 295 plus 425, which is 720, right? So that means that Absorbing Man's base crit rate with masteries is actually 21%. Then the stat focus is another 140%, or is another 140, and so that brings you up to 860. So that's 24.5%. So, like, I will fully admit that's not the biggest difference, right? But that is roughly the difference between, like, you know, a little better than 1 in 5 and a little worse than 1 in 4. And yeah, I am keeping an eye on it, Dilly. We're decently happy here, but yeah, I get it. Yeah, 21 is pretty big. Where if we go on the other side and we check out his critical damage rating, it starts at 981. I tend to run 4 points of cruelty, so that's 981 plus 380, right? So same thing. The stat calc has a little bit. There's a like a number sign next to the thing. If you click on that, it switches over to crit damage because it has to use a different curve to calculate that, like we said. So just with masteries, Absorbing Man's base crit damage is 220%, basically, from 1361. And so that means his crit bursts are going to be 3 times that value stronger than his non-crit bursts, or 660%. If we add the focus value for crit damage, that would be 128. And so that's 1489. And that would be 230%, which then gets multiplied, and you're looking at 690%. So put another way, when you're looking at stat focus for Absorbing Man, you can increase his crit rate by 14%, because that's 24.5 divided by 21.4 is 1.14. So you can increase his effective critical rate by 14%, or you can increase the size of his critical bursts by, what's 690 divided by 660, by 4.5%. And that's what I was getting at, right? Because I will take 14% more frequent crit bursts than 4.5% larger crit bursts, right? Now, granted, those 4.5% larger crit bursts apply to the nearly guaranteed ones you get when you heavy cancel into a special. But I think you get what I mean. That's kind of the min-maxing that we're talking about. How do you feel about a block proficiency stat focus for absorbing mana in case you don't have the relic doing that? Good. Like I do have the Doom one on him, but I think a large destroyer relic with crit rate or crit damage is a very respectable choice for Carl. Similarly, I think he's actually one of the better uses for the Unstoppable Colossus relic if you get one with crit rate or crit damage, because he already has so much resistance from his forms that is boosting his block prowess, so to speak. But he doesn't have more than the base amount of armor. And so if you increase his armor, it's going to have a real effect on how well he blocks, but also what happens when he gets hit. Thanks, Stalingrad. Thank you for letting me end the stream on this note, even though we've lost some people, because this kind of thing is refreshing. I like talking stats. Okay. I will see y'all in a little bit. I'm gonna go have a snack and do some D&D prep, but you'll see me again this weekend. Take care, everybody.